You might be wondering, hey Rainer, how do you draw these areas, man? So that's what we'll cover right now. So a few things to share. Number one, if the market is trending, you only want to draw the two most recent swing points. So let me explain. So let's say if the market is in an uptrend, right? Hit higher, pull back, hit higher, pull back, hit higher, pull back, and hit higher. So at this point, you have, a number of swing low. You have 1, 2, 1 here, 2 here, and 3. But my suggestion is to draw the two most recent swing low as support, meaning you just draw a support like this, and then another one over here. Why do you not want to consider this one here? And it's very simple, because when the market is trending higher, right? Yes, it could make a pullback. And where could it pull back into? I'm guessing probably into one of these areas over here, this or this. The market can pull back into this swing low, this lower one, but if it does, right, then you would realize that this market is no longer in an uptrend, because if the price could come back all the way down here into this level here, you can see that, you can imagine that this uptrend is no longer intact. It's maybe even in a downtrend. If the market is in a downtrend, then what the heck am I doing trying to buy at this level? So this is why I only pay attention to the two most recent swing lows. And don't worry, I'll share with you a few chart examples later on, but that is how I would draw my support and resistance in a trending market. So likewise, if the market is, let's say, heading down lower, and you have numerous swing highs to reference, I would just, draw my resistance possibly at this one here and at this one here. And of course, right, if this is a previous support which could become resistance, I would also, highlight it on the chart. But in terms of swing points, right, the swing highs, this would be the two most recent swing highs that I would pay attention to. On the other hand, if you have a range market, then it's pretty simple. Just draw the highs and lows of the range and adjust it, right, to get the most number of touches, right? So I'll explain that shortly. So let's have a look at a few charting examples. So this is Euro against the Japanese yen. This is the daily time frame. Just reset, okay? So you can see over here, where should we draw our area of support? Now the way I will do this is here. I would take this level here and draw one here. This is the most recent swing low. And another one over here. And that's it. Right, this will be the two area of support I will pay attention to. But also bear in mind that this over here could be previous resistance which becomes support. Remember, once price breaks above resistance, it could become support. So this is actually another level that's worth, right, paying attention to, and I will draw it on the chart. So if you ask me, right, for this uptrend, this will be my area of support on this chart. Why don't I draw, let's say, over here or over here? Very simple. If the price can come back all the way down into these lows over here, this could be in a downtrend already. So instead of, wanting to buy at this support, I would rather be looking for selling opportunities at this previous area, where previous support could become resistance. So I'm going to shift, right, my dynamics, right? I'm no longer looking for buying opportunities, because if the market is in a downtrend, we should be looking for selling opportunities. So this is why I just pay attention to the most recent swing points in the market. Another one, dollar against the South African rand. So same thing. What is the market structure? If you look at this market is in a downtrend. So pay attention to the two most recent swing points. It will be this one here and possibly this one over here. Okay, so this will be the two areas on the chart that I will pay attention to. This is where previous support could become resistance, and this, right, clearly is an area of resistance that I tested once, 2 times, 3 times, and 4 times over here. So the previous example, I had 3 levels. This one I have 2, so there's some kind of discretion over here. It's not like an exact science where you can only have 2. No, if the chart, right, makes sense, if it permits, right, I can have 3 potential support resistance areas on the chart. Okay, and one last final example. Okay, so this one, dollar USD against Singapore dollar. So if you look at this, you would see that is this in a downtrend or is this in a range? So if you zoom out your charts, right, you can see that this one, long term wise, it's in a downtrend. But if you zoom in a little bit like this, right, you would say that this is not exactly like a downtrend. This seems like a little bit more of a range. And I would say you're not wrong. So the way I would do this is, again, I would draw, right, the key areas on the chart. So as of right now, which is the nearest swing points, right, relative to the price right now. So if you see the price right now, it's over here. The nearest major swing points on the chart is here, between these highs and these lows over here. Okay, so you can see this is how I would draw my support and resistance for this particular chart over here. This is the highs and this is the lows. So one thing to point out is that, recall earlier I said that I would adjust it to get as many touches as possible. So if you look at this, right, I can actually draw my resistance smack, right? Okay, I'll say I could draw it. No, this is actually okay. So let's talk about this one. This lows, right? I could actually draw it maybe at this extreme point. Okay, at this extreme low over here. But why don't I want to do that? Because I mentioned earlier, I want to get the most number of touches. So if you just look back at here, if I draw at this extreme point, I will neglect this low over here, and I don't want that. So let me shift it up slightly higher so I can also take into consideration this low. Okay, so I have 1 touch, 2 touch. Make sense? So same for here, right? If I were to draw at this level, I have 1 touch, 2 touch, and 3 touch. Compared to, let's say, I were to only, shift it up higher. The reason why I said this is fine, because if you look back here, you get a number of touches here and here as well. But for me personally, I want to take into account the most recent touches. I want to get the most recent touches together. So I'm going to adjust this slightly lower and take into consideration this as well. This one here, 1 touch, 2, and 3. Okay, so let's have a look at another example. Pound against the Aussie. So again, this one here, the way you draw your support and resistance, you can draw at this extreme high. But if you were to do that, then you would, neglect quite a bit of levels. You actually ignore this one here, And so what I'll do instead is that I would prefer to adjust this slightly lower to get the most number of touch. So when I do that, I now have this over here, 1 touch, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So same for this one and the lows over here, drawing this area of support. I don't want to draw it at the extreme level. I want to adjust it so I can get the most number of touches. So I'll adjust this slightly up higher. And now I have 1 touch, 2, and 3. And this is my area of support. Okay, and this of course is my area of resistance. And that's how you go about drawing your support and resistance on your chart. And of course, right, this needs practice. It's not like, watch a 5-minute video and you become a pro. No, you got to practice it and, watch how the market reacts to your level in real time. And from then on, you will get better at drawing support and resistance. And of course, right, this is only one way to draw support and resistance. In the next section, I'll share with you how you can use moving average, right, to do this, to identify your area of value as well.